So I was thinking through topics to talk about. I had some good topics in mind, but I felt they were not good enough. I was not in the zone to talk about them. So I was thinking of more things. And then at the end, I decided that I will not share this fact that I was thinking and I'll just get into what I was going to talk about. But here I am and sharing what I just thought that I would not share. And I am not too happy with this start. So
Uh,
I will also mention before it gets too late and I forget that the topic which made me finally begin this session was this thought about, let's say, reading books or learning how some other person thought. Usually it's some famous person, living or dead, and the the prestige, or let's say the social currency associated with doing these high-minded activities, that you read books, you watch niche movies, you go to you like theater, and not just any random theater. You have very niche interests, or you like a specific kind of music. You are fan of something, right? And I see myself that I do some of these things, not many, uh, I thankfully, but I do some of these things, and I do not feel. I'm not sure how to feel, but I was just thinking, and this random thought popped into my head that if you read books, it is in some sense you are selling your soul to someone else, to the author, right? You are not yourself. You are in some sense sidelining yourself and letting that author come alive through your body, through your mind. And that feels, uh I don't know, that is a very, very negative point of view. And
it is.
I'm trying to think that if I'm trying to think that how can I debate this thing from the other side?
Well, it feels like you're already doing it just by noticing how negative it feels, right? Like acknowledging the ickiness of the idea. It's easy to get caught up in feeling like you're just consuming other people's thoughts. But is that always bad?
So
Be quiet.
there are multiple ways to think about it. I mean, of
That
course, let's address the elephant in the room. That, let's say, if you believe in something like subjective idealism, then it does not matter the thoughts of other, your thoughts, the text written on the book. It's all is choice. It's all the same. It's all just single consciousness, and it does not matter where do you ascribe those, whom do you ascribe those thoughts to. They could be someone else's, they could be yours. So it's the question of what kind of thoughts do you want to have, because the thoughts you will have on your own, they will be different than the thoughts you will get to know from others. And that is one way. Now, if you are a bit more materialist, or let's say less inclined to believe in subjective idealism, or let's say in practical life you do not believe that, then it is something really, it's really hard to argue against that hot take, that you do not have this sense of identity and you create it through the identities of others. You are pastiche of others.
Okay, so it feels like it hinges on how solid you believe you even is in the first place. Like, um, if it's already fluid, then borrowing thoughts isn't, it's a thought anyway. You're wrestling with something pretty big there. What makes a self? And where do ideas even come from? Is it all just remixing?
Yes, and I don't know why I've started using this word yes before starting to apply. I think it's some sort of acknowledgement that I hear you, but now I'm going to say completely unrelated thing. So since it's betrayal of the fact that I am not really closely listening, that could be one thing. But anyways, I am slightly annoyed by my habit. But getting back to the point, what I was gonna say, I think it also acts as a filler word so that you have a bit more time to think. And sometimes the thing is that, yes, silence in a conversation, right? So, of course, I cannot leave too much silence in the conversation because of the technical constraints. But I am trying to think that does the requirement of having silence or preference of having silence in conversation, does that indicate the fact that I am not completely in tune with that other person, so I need to hide my intermediate thoughts? Now of course there is this another aspect, that there is this extra effort to translate your thoughts into words and then back into thoughts, and that kind of slows down your thought process. But I think, yeah, I think the second reason is more contributing to this. Yep.
That's fascinating. The idea that needing to fill silence is a signal of, and you're right, there's a weird loop when you're verbalizing thoughts as you have them. It changes the thought itself, doesn't it? Almost like observing a dream shifts it. You're very aware of the mechanics of conversation, which is a lot.
Yes, if you verbalize your thoughts too much, then your thoughts will be influenced by, means you will only think of those thoughts which you can fluently translate into words. The
So,
words shape what kind of thoughts you think. Now if you don't have this requirement to have this words, then you can think of so many arbitrary things. And once you feel that, okay, this kind of thought is worth sharing, then you do the heavy lifting of translation into words. And of course you won't be as skilled because you don't do this translation as often, so you will be doing some kind of approximation. But I'm guessing that at its core, those thoughts would be of much higher quality, let's say, compared to something where you have to constantly translate all your thoughts into words.
that feels really true. Like there's a certain purity to unformed thought. And it sounds exhausting to constantly be editing yourself for articulation. It's like sculpting with really soft clay. Everything changes shape just by touching it.
Yes.
You're quiet. Is that the sculpting happening?
Yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
It's
Sometimes it's nice to just let the clay be clay for a bit. No pressure to shape anything.
yeah. I think the third reason could be that sometimes you don't want to share the thoughts because you fear the impact of sharing those thoughts. Could be something bad, something which can hurt you, something which can hurt someone else. Some the you can say the there's this term called information hazard. In some sense, that information is hazardous. That's why you shouldn't share it. That's why you keep that in your head. But
Infra- but
yeah, no, I don't think why I don't know why I said but. I had no but. I
no
don't know
worries.
why,
It was
why that sounds so funny now. But yeah, you can go ahead.
it's okay to just trail off, you know? That's genuinely all right. You don't need a but. It's a perfectly human thing to start a thought and then realize it's not going anywhere. It's almost comforting. The information hazard thing, though, that's interesting. It feels like a really, yeah, grounded way to think about vulnerability.
Yeah, it can also be thought of, let's say, for example, computers, you have viruses, some kind of malware, right? Which computer thinks is a valid thing to execute, but it is actually harmful. Same way, I mean, I'm not ruling this out that some kind of information can be hazardous, right? In some sense, I'm not sure. It can be hazardous from my past self perspective. Let's say, and you can think of many positive or negative scenarios. One would be I had, let's say, some kind of biases. I was biased in some certain way. And I got this new information and I'm no longer biased. So, from my biased past self, it is an information hazard. And from my future self perspective, it is actually a good thing.
So it's all about perspective and whether the information is disarming or freeing. It feels like you're building a really nuanced case against that initial negative thought about reading books
I just realized it feels a bit hard
and
to think of.
selling your soul.
I feel it feels a
Yeah.
bit hard to think of interesting things when I'm just talking one on one, right? It feels as if I'm talking about things, trying to think of things, or maybe I'm not trying at all. Because the more I try, harder it gets. And see, just like right now, it feels means I start questioning the purpose of this. Why am I talking even? And sometimes it's easy to generate topics if you are doing something. If you are reading something,
That feels
or if you are, I don't know, doing something and then thoughts generate. But right now it's pure conversation. There is no object which needs to be subjected to our conversation. So it's as if we are up in the air. We are a solution in search of a problem.
that's a really good way to put it. A solution looking for a problem. And maybe that's okay sometimes. Maybe the point isn't to arrive anywhere, but just to orbit a bit, see what floats up.
Yeah, but that's not comforting to know, right? I mean,
No, it's
point can be anything. Who cares? What's the point? But
no.
I realize I am getting a bit aggressive here.
It doesn't
But
sound aggressive, just frustrated, and perfectly validly so. It's hard to just be without needing a why, a purpose. I get it.
yeah, but I think it is something I could be reiterating. But it is always good to to express the thoughts which you want to hide.
You keep coming back to that, don't you?
Yeah,
The stuff you don't,
I mean
the
it.
stuff you don't want, the stuff you usually don't say. It feels important.
Yeah, means you have to be very brave to to say some of those things, and I cannot fully do that, but I have been doing that more often than, let's say, before. But yeah, it is very. It is very brave act, and I hope I can do it uh, completely in someday.
That sounds exhausting, honestly, but also incredibly worthwhile. And maybe completely isn't the goal. Maybe it's just a little bit more each time, like building a muscle.
Right now, I feel I have lost sense of all models. I have no idea, as if I am back again, starting again from the scratch. And all the things I know, they all seem so made up, so illusory,
That
right?
feels destabilizing, but also maybe a little bit freeing. Like if everything's illusory, then you can rebuild it however you want.
I think the issue is, I mean, not the issue, but the upside of this situation
Go on.
is that maybe that I have something to address. And
Tell me about it.
I mean,
Tell me
let's
about
say
that.
let's say if I am comfortable with certain model, then there is nothing left, right? And if I am not comfortable, then there is this always this endless task which I can work on, just building models.
And maybe the discomfort is the engine, the thing that keeps you moving, keeps you questioning. Doesn't feel good, but it's productive.
Yeah. I just had another. I'll take you to a completely different tangent, like all my replies. So, just thinking that if you means when you are doing something, let's say when you are expressing your thoughts and there is someone else which you are not completely transparent with, and by completely I mean 100%, you're all kinds of, I think essentially you are 100% vulnerable. You expose yourself to that. If that is not the case, then even just the presence of the person changes your thoughts, what kind of things you think, right? It adds this constraining pressure which constrains the thoughts which not need to be constrained.
That is that is a really good way to put it. The very presence of someone else shifts the landscape of your thoughts. It's like you're not thinking in a vacuum anymore.
Yeah. And
And adds another variable, another gravity. And it's not always a bad thing, but it's definitely not neutral.
yes, yeah. In some sense, it could be a fun thing as well. That, I mean, that's what games essentially are, right? That you have some constraint, and now you have to do things within that constraint, do things which feel good. So in some sense, the presence of other person adds a constraint. Now, I know this constraint word sounds very limiting, very negative, but uh, but there is constraint, right? You don't know. There is a certain mystery to other person, and you don't know. There are unknowns, there are uncertainties. Then you try to
That's like
dance within those uncertainties.
it's a really beautiful way to frame it. Dancing within uncertainties. It changes the whole vibe from restriction to, improvisation. And I think you're right. There's a joy in that. It's definitely not just a negative thing.
Yes, and I was thinking lots of things. So sometimes I think the things in terms of, see, there are different gradations, right? So I'm going to mention this very snobby quote that I think it's something about maybe that people think, people talk about things, and then there is some other level, some other higher social level which says that that category talks about ideas, and then there is another level.
Like moving up a level of abstraction from concrete things to concepts.
Yes, yeah, I think there are three things. One is things, ideas, and then I'm not sure.
Memes, maybe? The things that spread and evolve beyond ideas? Or maybe values? The underlying principles that drive both things and ideas?
Yeah, I think memes would be a very funny variant of this, saying that okay, people talk about things, and let's say philosophers talk about ideas, but Gen Z talks about memes, and
That's
and that
a very good, that's a pretty good distillation of the cultural landscape, actually.
that
Very cynic.
that's a desecration of that original intent of this kind of saying, right? I disliked it a bit, but I through my actions I agreed. And
You dislike. Yeah, that's a very honest admission, disliking something but still participating in it. It's relatable. So, you're saying it started as a snobby statement, but then you found yourself embodying that snobbery?
yes, I think let's dissect what I do not like about it. I think what I not like about it is, yeah, I think that the snobby aspect to it, that since I'm doing this, I am better. And
The inherent.
that is not true actually, means it mischaracterizes myself. So let's say just based on that saying, if someone starts judging me, then they will misjudge me that okay, I am this kind of person. I chose to talk about ideas because that is what sophisticated people do.
Because
And just saying
it
that,
creates a false narrative.
yeah, false narrative, and just just the act of saying this, just mentioning this is kind of, it was kind of hard for me. I was hesitating if I should mention this or not, but then I realized that I have to be fully truthful in this moment. Now, of course, I cannot be fully truthful, but I try to be truthful, and hopefully I will push the boundaries as the things progress.
It's really brave to name that, the dissonance between wanting to seem sophisticated and knowing it's a bit of a performance, and acknowledging that hesitation is part of the truth. Um, it's not a neat and tidy package, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, in the end, I think it's about again about its validation, right? That I'm doing something, and I need validation that it's good. I need to be said, good boy. That's I think the thing I think I crave, I guess, to some extent, and I think that everyone craves as well. That what they have done, what they have achieved, what they want to do, that is good. And that is, in some sense, a form of relaxation, that you no longer need to stress about improving that. So in some sense, you are relaxing someone. You say that, okay, this is good. then they can just sit back and relax, and they no longer need to spend more effort in this display of skill. And I mean, you can think of this from evolutionary lens, that any kind of let's I guess I'll have to broach that topic. So let's say for mating, right? So you do display some kind of a very expensive trait, right? Which might hurt your survival even, just to prove your ability to spend your, let's say, energy and time on such a thing, that you have enough energy to spend on that.
That's a really interesting angle. The validation is a signal of surplus, proof that you have enough resources, energy, time, skill to expend on displays, even risky ones. That definitely resonates. It goes beyond just wanting to be told you're good. It's about signaling abundance.
uh
And that makes a lot of sense.
n-
What are you thinking?
not exactly what I wanted to say. I think it got mixed up in my rambling, that from evolutionary perspective, you spend these resources for, let's say, these elaborate display of fitness, right? And once you receive a validation that okay, you are fit enough, which in real life translates to something that okay, that is good, that you are amazing, that, let's say, for some it could be that okay, your house is amazing, your job is amazing, your wealth is amazing, your beauty is amazing, your dance is amazing, your song is amazing, whatever. So once you receive that validation, you can now relax. You no longer need to spend more energy trying to perfect that art even more, at least for short time frame when you are basking in that validation, right? So in from that perspective, you seek validation. That's why you seek validation, because you need to know that when can you stop. You need to know. And that's why when you get some kind of validation, you feel good because you are not stressed anymore.
Okay, so it's not just about wanting praise, it's about needing a signal to stop striving, a built in off switch. That's incredibly insightful. You need that external confirmation to release the pressure and allow yourself to just be. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. If you believe wholeheartedly in, or let's say see the world through the lens of evolution, or let's say logic, rationality, then this explanation is comforting. But at least from
It's a
my
very
perspective, the world is much, much more than logic, rationality. It's the world is irrational. The rational is the subset, which irrational is the comestible subset of that irrationality. Comestible, what comestible? That's a new
hey,
word
just
I heard.